Hello, you listen to the Neil Lamptey Show. My name is Joey, and this week I'm joined by Neil.
Hello, Joey.
And by Dom.
Hello.
And by Laurie.
All right, mate.
Right, season's up and running. Let's have our first official season moment of the week. Neil, what are you going to hit us with?
I have a moment of the week that is about football and about Declan Drysdale getting sent off. And I don't have an opinion on whether he should have got sent off or not based on the rules. I have an opinion on how stupid the rules are now, where I never understand. A red card's supposed to be there to punish someone like for really wrongdoing. I never get it around my head around looking at situations like that and thinking that guy doesn't deserve to be on the pitch for the rest of the match because that has happened. I just think, it's the same with the handball rule, and which is all messed up as well. I just think something's not quite right there, where he may have touched him, but the punishment for that situation is, right, you're no longer allowed to play for the rest of this match, and potentially, you're then suspended for another match and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, something's gone wrong there. And I know I'm fighting 140 years of football law here, but they need to get a grip. That's my moment of the week, really, just stupid sendings off.
The handball rule at the minute is a transitory thing, isn't it? Because what they've done is they've changed. It was, you can argue it was okay or not, but they've changed another rule, and now it's made things like offside and handball. Those rules were written for a time before VAR, if that's part of what we're talking about. All that will happen is that presumably it should have happened already, but I think COVID's probably slowed it up. Very soon there'll be rule changes that render things back to normal. With this sending off, my understanding of it, and someone more learned will tell me that I'm wrong, I'm sure, is that you can scratch the double jeopardy part of it if they're deemed to have made a genuine attempt for the ball. And I think, could you be really certain that that was just a professional foul? I mean, I couldn't tell from the thing that whether he'd even touched him, let alone it was a genuine that he just. And what made it worse for me was that then there was a moment right at the end of the game, wasn't there, where the MK Dons player seemingly much more obviously denied a goal scoring opportunity outside the box and got a yellow card for it. I thought, well, I don't know if you could have it both ways, because they were very similar incidents, but what was the difference between them? So yeah,
it's baffling, isn't it?
And like you say, in the grand scheme of things, did they need both? Be interesting to see what
he can't do nothing about it. He's just run across him. He's like, he could barely even see what was going on, and then next thing you know, you got a red card in your face, and you're sort of thinking, well, I literally couldn't have done anything about that, and I'm off the pitch. And it's just some, I don't know how they fix it. It's the same with the handball rule, like you say. I mean, you could make it every time the ball hits your hand, and that at least it makes it clear. But then that's really harsh as well. So I don't know what the answer is. I just think the punishment doesn't really fit the bamboozled defender who didn't really know what's going on, suddenly seeing a red card in his face.
The ref also had the dimensions of someone maybe not at the elite level of keeping up with the game.
Noted. Yes.
It's possible that had played some factor. Don, what did you think? Have you seen it back at all?
Yeah, it's sort of one of those where, because of the combination of you're just watching it on your laptop from one camera angle, and because of that sort of change with the double jeopardy rules, it's just like I just didn't know whether to be angry about it, and that was just one of those moments in a game where it was like, that's frustrating, and it disadvantages my team. But yeah, you can kind of see why the referees made that decision. And I think, referees get hammered every week, and if you can at least see why they've made that decision, whether or not you agree with it, I mean, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
A much more sober take on it there. I'm going to throw to Laurie for what I imagine is going to be a much more intoxicated moment of the week. Hit me up.
Moment of the week, don't want my opinion on the penalty.
Well, I'm not convinced that you've imbibed any football at all this weekend, let alone the game that you're meant to be talking about.
No, I am struggling a bit with this whole supporting my football team when I just football's all about fans, but I'm not going to bore you with that. So the only like tangential moment of the week I can muster is, so I quite want to get a tattoo to commemorate what happened last year. And when I suggested my tattoo to the tattoo parlor, they actually said they wouldn't do it because they thought it was such a bad idea. And that was my moment of the week.
Can we get some more detail of what it entailed?
Yeah.
No, obviously not. But
Look,
I found
we
it
need
funny
more.
Yeah, I don't think you could
But
tell
this-
us that and then not tell us what the tattoo was going to be.
But this happened in Margate, and I don't know if any of you've been to Margate, but the amount of wrong-uns with horrendous tattoos of like their dogs on their arms, and the fact that my tattoo was deemed too horrible to put on my skin, I actually found just monumentally hilarious. I was
Right.
just like,
Let me put it this way: all I've got in this is what I've got in my head now, and if you don't tell us what it is, then it's because I'm correct. It's Robbins, Michael Rose, Godden, and O'Hare at the 4 points of a swastika. That's the your Margate tattooist was like, I'm not sure, mate. You were like, it was what? I'm just commemorating a championship promotion.
He's not denied it.
Well, this is the thing, and a lot of them
So if you
are deniers. That's
imagine
the
Mount
thing.
Rushmore, but with the faces of Bakayoko, Dave Boddy, Morosi, and James Maddison. You're getting a bit closer.
Oh my god.
I mean, that is brilliant. I wouldn't have thought anybody would have dissuaded you from that. What I like about that as well is that getting
They
a
haven't
tattoo.
dissuaded me. I just need to find a new tattoo partner. So anyone out there,
Surely
who's
they want that
happy,
on their
will
portfolio.
do it.
Come on.
Someone let me.
I like getting the idea of getting a tattoo with Dave Body, but not his body. In that example there, that would only
Ain't
be
no body.
his face. Yeah. Dom, your moment of the week. What are you getting tattooed on yourself?
Maybe not a tattoo, but I have to say, just getting that season preview done over the weekend was just a massive undertaking. It just felt one of those where it was like, it sort of got to like a week before, and I was like, oh crap, the season's about to start, and pulled it together in the end, and sort of got a load of good feedback today. So that's what makes it all worth it in the end.
How many pages?
72.
You lunatic.
Is it getting
Taylor.
longer or shorter as the years go on?
I think that's basically the exact same length as last year's. So
Consistency. That's what I love about you, Dom.
yeah, at one point I was going to do the entire football league, and
Oh my
then
God.
I calculated like it. I was going to do like a few pages for each club, and it was going to be like 300 pages long. I was like, no, not even I can do that.
Yeah, you're not really paid enough to like create an annual of the season. I mean, it's not your role, is it?
No.
I was going to
Do
say
you
at that
regret
point it is
ever
a book.
setting yourself up as the main man for previews?
I'd say I actually like really genuinely enjoy doing them. Like during like before I did this, I'd spent hours and hours just like for myself, like putting together like the most accurate football manager database for the football league. So it's sort of that kind of sort of anorak tendency that I
Surely you
fulfill.
could flog it to someone though. It's like such a detailed bit of research. Like the shit they churn out on like paid for magazines got to be way worse than that.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
probably for a different time.
Yeah.
What I always think is impressive is how frequently you're proved right. So actually, there's either opposition. The most notable example was League Two season where you were talking about Sariki Dembele, and I don't think anybody had really. I think there was a point where sort of he was regarded as a prospect, but I think I've joked with you before about the fact that nobody would know if you were lying. But actually, time has proved time and time again that you really know your stuff, don't you? So So make sure where can people find that?
It's that Sideways Sammy It will be the first thing on there. So very easy to land on.
Are you finding yourself with your voice breaking like mine? No, with a sort of naming malaise, the same as we have, because you've changed yourself to Dom Jerums on your Twitter profile. How do you feel about the name Sideways Sammy years on?
I feel what's it, that thing in the Simpsons about the B sharps is sort of one of those things that you think is funny the first time, and so it wears off the more it goes on. But yeah, I think the longer it goes until like someone someday forgets who Sammy Klingon
Yeah.
was, I'll keep it up, and maybe even beyond then, just so I can tell them about that man.
Scholars maintain that the meaning was lost decades ago.
Yeah.
Right, Dom. We watched, not together unfortunately, but we watched the MK Dons game on Saturday. With your keener eye, we're asking you to give us the rundown from it. So, what did you think were notable events in the game?
Yeah, so I mentioned going into this that it was the first game of the season, but it was really the last game of pre-season, and that was the overriding feel you got from that game. Both teams looked pretty rusty. I have to say, we were the rustiest of the two, just at both ends of the pitch. So just quite a lot of just loose play at the back. Morosi in particular was guilty of just giving the ball straight to the opposition. There was one who just completely passed to their striker who, for some reason, was unable to put it into the back of the net. That was particularly sinful. You just have to hope that he's got a few of those out of his system from the game. And it's sort of quite an odd one with Morosi. I sort of put after the game that Morosi, the goalkeeper, was our man of the match. He pulled off, well, he saved a penalty, which we've already mentioned, and then in like the first or second minute, he pulled out an absolutely brilliant save with his feet from just point blank range. Perhaps the striker really should have done better there, which would have fell behind from. And yeah, particularly in that first half, he pulled off about 3 saves where otherwise it would have been down and out of that game. And then at the other end, huge issue was none of our forwards could stay onside. I think at one point in the second half, it said we'd only had 6 offsides, and it felt like we'd had about 20. It was just terrible, to be honest. And you have to hope that's just down to pre-season. Just seeing, I say, Allen in particular was just not quite releasing the ball at the right time and just passing to players who were just clearly offside. Godden's movement looked a little bit off. Has been something we've sort of seen over the pre-season games as well with Godden, that he's been offside quite a lot. I don't know whether it's because we're pressing more, he's sort of playing off the shoulder a bit more, we're playing on a counter-attack a little bit more. It seems we're not playing as much sort of possession football, that maybe sort of he's having a bit of a challenge there. Or maybe he's just not quite fit in the swing of things enough. I think that's something to watch.
Or maybe Robbins has asked Bakker to mentor him.
Exactly. It's definitely something to keep an eye on over the first few games. And then sort of just the way the game played out, it seemed fairly even. MK Dons just had a lot of the ball early on. Whether that was deliberate or not from us, hard to tell. Possibly we're just short on a little bit of fitness there. It did seem maybe we're preparing for the championship to maybe sit half teams a little bit, try and catch them on the counter with the sort of the energy we have in that front three. And yeah, we sort of soaked over the pressures, but then we're hitting on the counter attack a bit more. Unfortunate take the lead a couple of times. Ryan Giles running from left wing back was very impressive. Just the way he can just switch it on. That's something to keep an eye on. But then we have the penalty incident, which took us down to 10 men, and Robin decided to go with a 4-2-3 shape basically from that. So we were a man short at the back, but because MK Dons were really just so toothless with the amount of possession they had, that didn't really matter. I suppose the only one area they really threatened was their left wing back, Soranoda, who won the penalty, and he just constantly just managed to sort of run in behind our defence, and particularly when we went to 4, he seems to sort of run into that space between Pask and McFadden, perhaps down to Pask not quite understanding where he should be, possibly as a result of that just being a man short and having to adapt things on the fly. But then, as game won, we put on Tyler Walker, and that really just seemed to be the difference, where we had him and Godden up front, and we just seemed to have a little bit more up front. And then the winning goal is a free kick. Giles puts a ball in, not a very threatening one, and then the young centre-back who's making his debut just makes an absolute rick of it, and it falls for Walker right at his feet, and he scores. And then a little bit later, Bakayoko should have got a second goal. Just typical sort of Bakayoko chase. He was through, the ball ricocheted to him, and we should have put that in the net, but we won 1-0. So there we go.
What do you reckon Tyler makes of Bakayoko? So I've got to force him out of the starting 11. Challenge accepted.
What I loved about that Bakayoko thing was, one, I couldn't tell whether he'd hit the first shot directly at the keeper in an attempt that he might have a chance of tackling it in, and then secondly, the second shot was actually tackle-esque, and was more surprised that the second didn't go in. But I thought that was pure Bakayoko. The kind of the industrial spirit to sort of fashion the chance for himself in the first place, but the complete. I remember what it put me in mind of was, I've been watching, because Callum Wilson's been talked a lot about recently. I watched Callum Wilson's YouTube compilation goals. Every time Callum Wilson went 1-on-1, you just were like, this is just such a goal, and it was relentlessly so. And
Joey,
whenever
they don't put the
Bakayoko
misses
goes
in the
in, you just think,
compilation,
this
though,
is
do they,
no chance.
Jonah?
Say that again, sorry, I missed that, mate.
They don't put the misses in the compilation, though, do they?
No, but I was there that season. He didn't miss ever. I reckon he would have scored like 9 out of 10 of those goals, wouldn't he? Just every single time that he had the chance. But the back here, as soon as he bears down, you just think, well, you know, we might get chances later, which would be good. Don, were you surprised at how easily we sort of adapted shape-wise?
Yeah, I suppose sort of the biggest thing was at fullback, where you have Josh Pask, who I know we've talked about a lot. It does seem sort of quite recently it's become more apparent that he is a centre-back more than a right-back. He sort of got caught out of position a few times, but and then on the other side you have Ryan Giles, who I've been told quite repeatedly by Shrewsbury fan via Twitter that he just was not good defensively at all at Shrewsbury, and I thought he really impressed sort of one-on-one defensively through that game, and I thought that was one of the more encouraging performances from that game. Sort of still felt like he was sort of riding by the seat of his pants a little bit when players were running at him, but showed good determination to sort of dig in there, and that's the thing with Ryan Giles. It seems if we can sort of sort his defending out, then he's going to be very useful in the team for what he can provide going forward.
To what extent go on, Neil? Go on, mate.
I was going off the topic of Giles straight into my main man, Gustavo, whatever his surname is. What did he do? I missed the match entirely, so I have no judgment. But I know I went way big on him last week, and I'm worried, having seen he got substituted after 60 minutes, me going way big was a sign of him being nothing.
Dom, I'll let you go for this.
Yeah, so after watching a bit more of Harmer recently, I think the big concern with him is he's an absolute maniac in terms of tackling. Where it's just like, I think I mentioned in our WhatsApp, it's like literally at one point I was just trying to like figure out like what percentage of the tackles he put in wouldn't count as fouls. It's just he seems to sort of he sort of seems to lead into tackles with his upper body, which is quite strange. But yeah, so I think the concern with that is he's going to concede quite a lot of free kicks and get himself booked quite a lot, especially if the championship is a bit too fast for him. You wonder sort of the space he's going to leave sort of in front and around him. So sort of my enthusiasm has cooled a little bit, but you can clearly see sort of the talent in terms of passing the ball. You can clearly pick a pass. He looks very comfortable with the ball at his feet. I think figuring out the right midfield partner for him is going to be a huge help, and perhaps telling him to calm it down a little bit.
For me, I thought he was one of the players that stood. I thought the three that stood out the most were Giles, O'Hare, and I think we got confirmation of this via a friend of mine who lives in Amsterdam, and it's a YouTube video of him saying his own name. I think it's Hammer. Or is that? Are we
I'll
going
do
for
that.
that?
That's
I
all
think
right.
it's
Yeah, I
Hammer.
quite like that. Hammer.
I thought he linked everything very nicely and neatly, but it was hard to not be more impressed with Giles and O'Hare because they were so dynamic. But I thought he brought everything together, and I thought it was a really good sign. Albeit that I think it was just such a strange game to try and draw any conclusions from, because it was just like you've used the word there, Dom, and you hit the nail on the head. The whole thing was so rusty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Shall we do any other questions about MK Dons, or how does everyone feel about Laurie? How do you feel about Gillingham in the next round?
I almost have no opinion apart from my uncle Sports Gillingham. So my immediate reaction was to text him, be like, "Shall we go together?" And I was like, "Oh, obviously not." But yeah, fine. We don't have to go to that stadium. That's almost a bonus, isn't it? I feel like I'm sounding like Paul.
No, I think it's fair. I don't think anybody wants to go there. I think that's probably a fair assessment. Neil, anything to add to Gillingham?
It's literally the same sentiment as Laurie's.
I know that this isn't how football works, but I do feel sort of resentful about the fact that we got promoted to the Championship, and then we've just played MK Dons, and now we're talking about playing Gillingham. I sort of feel like we could be like, aren't we? Didn't we
When's
leave
Real
that
Madrid
behind?
Did we actually get promoted? Yeah.
I thought we were better than this now. Yeah. Right, Dom, hit us with that Bristol City chat.
Yeah, so Bristol City have been a club that has been trying to gear itself up to play in the Premier League over quite a few years now, and they've spent quite extensively in the transfer market, tending to come at sort of the same time as losing one or two big players per summer, so kind of balances out in a net spend kind of term. But it just seemed it reached a point over the lockdown period where they got frustrated with Lee Johnson, who, by his own admission, is a streaky manager who seems to just go through incredible troughs and peaks of form, and they just had a few too many of those. And then the expectation from many fans was they were going to go out and get the manager who's going to get them promoted to the Premier League. No, they're linked quite closely with Chris Hughton, and that seemed just to make a lot of sense for a club that wants to be in the Premier League so desperately. But in the end, they appointed Dean Holden, who had a caretaker spell at Oldham about 5 years ago and has been the assistant manager and was the caretaker manager. So that seemed quite a strange one. But in terms of the squad, it just looks so big, especially in midfield. We've got obviously someone we know so well, Liam Walsh, coming into that team. He's probably going to be injured for this game, so we won't have to face up to the sight of him lining up against us for this one. But they've just got so many options in midfield. It's just incredible. So they've got Hanno and Misengo, who were very expensive signing last season from Monaco. Adam Noj, who's a Hungarian international, who about 4 years ago was very highly rated. He's someone who sort of pass around tackle. Joe Williams, who was really good at Wigan recently. Casey Palmer.
Did I say they brought in Chris Brunt?
Yeah,
Does
they
that happen?
just signed Chris Brunt, who played 74 minutes of football last season, so he's there.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I suppose in terms of the danger men for this game, the one guy who's in amazing form, sort of the end of last season, and looking and going to this one is someone who is from Coventry, is a Coventry fan, but is one of those who's never played for us, Jamie Patterson, who has been moved into a position just behind the strikers, and he just seems to be relishing it. Someone who plays with a lot of energy, can beat people, and he's developed a really good knack, it seems, in just ghosting behind the strikers. And it seems part of Bristol City's tactics recently is to play quite quickly into their front man. They got Famara Jeju, who's a really sort of big and hard-working striker, who will win a lot in the end, just make an absolute nightmare for you. Sort of flick-ons into Jeju, and then having Naki Wells, who's a quick striker, and then Patton just dropping in that space behind them can be quite potent. So that's going to be quite hard for our back three to handle, sort of three very different strikers. And their team with the quality of in the midfield can move it from side to side quite quickly. Jay De Silva, left wing back, very impressive. And they've added Alfie Mawson recently, who not too long ago was in the England squad. Would say the defence looks a little bit of a weak point in the team. They've got a few players out injured. Possibly might have Tommy Rowe, who's a left back, filling in at left centre back. It's not a comfortable fit. And then got Daniel Bentley in goal, who on his day is an excellent goalkeeper, but has a little bit of a habit of making the odd clanger. So that's possibly where we could get a little bit of joy in this game. So yeah, it's going to be sort of a good test of a decent Championship side who will be hoping for the playoffs this season, maybe just a little bit short of that quality. But this is sort of a welcome to the Championship kind of game.
Can I just say, I'm not sure I can come this podcast many more times if I have to listen to previews like that. That is absolutely terrifying. Like, I'm used to hearing like, oh, Calvin Andrew might cause us a few problems. Not there's lads from the England team. There's people who play for Hungary. There's people who are really like, this sounds horrible.
Mm.
I mean, we're
This is what
definitely
we
gonna
asked
win.
for.
That's what we wanted. Did we want this?
Apparently.
I was able to listen to you say Naki Wells and me think, I'm not too sure I'll be all that worried about that. And then when I really thought about it, I was like, actually, this isn't a top-end Championship striker here, but I bet if you put him in League One, he would literally shit goals. Very quickly, I know this is tangential. Do you know what has got to be shit is being Chris Brunt and being at West Brom for 13 years. And then you're 35, and they're like, "Thank you, bye." You'd be like, "Oh, I really didn't want to have to go. I want to move to Bristol. How do I?"
Bristol's lovely.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not. It's not even a criticism of Bristol. Do you know what, Laurie? Why is everything about you? Your uncle was a Gillingham fan. You're from Bristol. It's not about you. Okay. More is just.
All
You
I'm
just
saying is
think.
Bristol is nicer than Smethick Rolf Street. Give me that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. If you put down roots in the area, then you've got to go and live in Bristol for a bit. He must have just thought, I'll probably retire here. He must have done, mustn't he?
Yeah,
Oh, it's a shame.
probably not the only footballer who's thought that. I'm sure there are like hundreds of thousands of pounds offers to play.
Do you know what, Laurie? If you've got some good opinions, I'd like you to share them. if you go, if my opinions are so boring, Laurie, why don't you share some of your own?
If I played 67 minutes of football in an entire year, and then some other chump of a club's willing to come and pay me 12 grand a week to sit on the bench again, I'd be pretty happy with that.
Do you think that's what he'd be on? Or is that a random
That's
number?
my very uneducated guess.
I would be
Dom,
willing to
what do
bet
you
you that
reckon?
Bristol City aren't paying Chris Brunt 12 grand a week for a 35-year-old who's... Unless they are, and then we're even more fucked in the Championship than I thought, because we cannot compete with that.
Yeah, I'm worried it could be the second one. I think, they could be paying shitloads of money.
I was talking to a Cov fan earlier who was saying that he was talking to his brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law was going mental because he wouldn't admit that we've got a good chance of finishing the playoffs this season. You kind of think, I think some people are going to come crashing down to earth this season a little bit. Aren't they? Right, okay, so should we try and dig out some Twitter questions?
Yes.
I'm going to start off with a question for Neil from Amrit on Twitter, who asks, who was your all-time favourite Jordan?
Jordan Turnbull, because of his stunningly Lego-esque hair.
That's
And
not a bad
beard.
chat. Anyone else got any favourite Jordans that they want to throw in? I don't know whether the question here is just Cov Jordans or whether all Jordans are available. But I'm going to allow you to interpret it however you want. Laurie, favourite Jordans?
Not as in like the female Jordan, she included.
Jordan, just quite simply Jordan. as I'll henceforth be referring to her, quite simply Jordan.
I always liked Jordan Clark. He was
Yeah,
he was very handsome as well. Just didn't do him any harm.
That's a lovely job. Dom?
I'm going to go with Ponticelli because even though he's gone to Wrexham, I just still love the idea of him just making it good here and just being a guy who like only really has finishing, but just scores a ton of goals for us, and just because everyone was so excited about him not too long ago. I just really like that story.
Yeah, and there's that thing that Paul has said a number of times, that it doesn't matter where he is or what level he's at. There will be one season where he scores 25 goals, won't there? It just will be. Like it would. It's cosmically set, and it's almost a shame that we didn't keep him just on that basis.
He had a few nice moments though. I remember that Walsall goal. He scored one against Stevenage, and also that pointless one against Notts County where they instantly equalised. Was the Stevenage goal or Crawley the one which actually really counted towards League Two promotion?
No, he got
Kind of one
two. Didn't he
got
come off
two
the
in a
bench and
game,
score
didn't he? That
two
was the
against
one
Notts
where
County? Yeah, and and we were
he
winning
stepped
that
up big
game.
time.
Yeah, there's a huge 3 points that.
But there was one Notts County game where we scored like a last-minute winner via him, and then they instantly went down and equalised the other end.
Yes, I remember that.
I think that might be the same game. I think he might have got then a winner in that game later.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You weren't even
were
there.
incorrect.
I know you weren't.
Stop getting Ponticelli wrong. The Ian Heron asks a question: is this the breakthrough season for Laurie? Which might be my favourite question this week. You've got some stick for that, Hyam, haven't you?
Why is no one ever going to forget that? Jesus Christ, stupider things have been said on this podcast. All by me, but
Laurie, give you a chance to redeem yourself. What would you do with the Wilson transfer windfall? That's from @Cov1981.
is it too late to get Vince Lott back now? Probably. I don't know. I trust Robbins. He seems to be buying all these players that I've never heard of, and they're incredible. So maybe just hang on to it until January when we're rock bottom, and then we're like, let's just start rebuilding for next year. Get Lee Burge back.
That's the spirit.
Would you have Lee Burge back?
Absolutely not.
Would anyone have Lee Burge back?
I wouldn't have thought so. Not
so
because
nice
of me. I
having a
quite liked
player
him. I
that
just
not
think everybody
everyone
else slagging him off.
Yeah, it's painful listening to it all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. No one will ever forget it, and you're like, oh, actually, I quite liked him.
What's interesting though as well, for me, I think that Morosi's probably better. I think he probably adds a bit more all round, doesn't he? I'm just surprised that I think we were all, to a certain extent, quite big Burge fans, weren't we? And then kind of he went, we got Morosi, and we were like, okay,
Yeah,
that's fine. Okay, right, so okay. Dom, a question from @Meetyou1990. Do you think this is our strongest match day 18 since relegation to the second tier?
I'm going to say no, because I remember having this specific thought once, and it was before we played Sheffield United away under Tony Mowbray, where we had Joe Cole, James Maddison had gotten back fit, like Jacob Murphy, and Ryan Kent had gone at that point, but like Jim O'Brien, John Fleck, it was just
Possibly
insane
Jack
squad.
Stevens?
Ben Turner was on loan.
Ben Turner,
then.
We
yeah.
couldn't even put Madison on the bench for some games because of the old loan thingy. Like, I mean, come on.
Was Sheffield United in our division that year?
Yes,
yeah, that
they
was
were.
when they were not
Yeah,
good.
they were. Yeah, because I remember we lost 2. In fact, didn't we go there? I thought we might have gone there together, Laurie. Didn't we go? Didn't we lose
Yeah,
2-0?
last day of the season, like
No.
meaningless fixture.
No, that was Oldham. Was the last day of the season where we won 2-0. I think there was
Yeah.
a midweek game where we lost 2-0 at Sheffield United, and John Fleck was
Barnsley. It's Barnsley.
it was Barnsley. There we go.
Also, just stop making this all about you, Joey. No one cares about the games you've been to.
I sometimes think if I haven't got any jokes, I take someone else's as well. What would
Oh, shots fired.
Carl Dixon asks Neil, who would make your combined 11 of the team relegated from the Championship in 2011-12 and the team to return there this season?
I can't come up with that off the cuff. I didn't know about this.
Should we have a
Can
look at the
Terry
team
pick
that
a
was
few?
relegated
Was
that
Kieran
day?
Westwood in that team?
No.
Was
There was
he?
the summer we signed Joe Murphy and Chris Dunn and basically no one
yeah,
else.
You're right, yeah. Okay. Let's have a. I mean, this is not going to make compelling podcasting, I don't think. But should we have a quick look to see who was in that team?
Yeah.
I might try and do it in the
Yeah,
background while we do another.
I'd
Biggie
say-
and Connor Thomas and Djukovic and Richard Keogh.
Well, Jukovic went in the January, didn't he? That was basically
He
the
did.
nail in the coffin, the massive nail in the coffin that he was. Because he was, in fact, we remember who he was replaced. In fact, Paul would be very, very, very quick to tell us who he was replaced with, wouldn't he?
Alex Nimley.
Alex Nimley, yeah. Big
Do you remember
favourite
when
of
he
Paul's.
offered to play for us for free, except he was playing for another club in the same division as us?
I don't, but that is
Cover
excellent.
blown.
I think he basically got sacked by Port Vale because he said he'd play for us for free.
That's not really in it, is it, Alex?
I'll give up
Dom.
my paid contract here.
We've taken it as something of a dig. Dom, how many points from September's possible 9 would you consider success?
Get a couple wins on the board. At least 4 would be good. That would be good par running. Decent enough start.
Neil, Laurie?
Yeah, we've got to get a win at some point. I'll take one win. It's not. I'm just trying to join the crew of people being realistic. I don't want us to go those first 3 games and not get any kind of positive result. So, one win, please.
Laurie?
I would bet quite a lot on us getting something like a really creditable draw at Bristol City, 1 more draw and then a defeat.
Oh, God, I'd rather win one than lose. All about the numbers here, but. Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that we finish off with something of an impromptu quiz if anybody fancies it.
Well, we're so good at impromptu, so let's try that.
I've got the list of goal scorers from the season that we got relegated.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to
You're
take
going to read
it
them
in
out.
Oh no, I'm going to ask you to take it in turns to make some guesses, and you get as many points as they scored goals that season. What do you think about that? So I'm going to rule
Sounds
out
good.
I'm going to rule out Jukovic because his name has already gone. I'm going to go by podcast tenure on here and start with you, Neil, for a guess on this.
Alex Nimley.
Alex Nimley scored 1 goal, as I'm sure Paul would be very,
Boom!
very, very quick to tell you. Okay. So, Neil, you're on 1. Dom.
Sammy Klingon.
Sammy Klingon scored 2.
Yes,
Beautiful.
I remember he
work.
was on penalties.
Laurie.
Has Don been on this podcast longer than me? Well, let's skim over that. Richard Keogh?
I don't know if he scored that year, did he?
He was certainly a player. He was booked
He
4
slayed
times, which
everything.
seems incredible that he wasn't booked more. So more for just for diving alone in his own box. You would have thought he would have got. But no, not a goal scorer. Sensationally, controversially. Okay, so that's Laurie as usual, adding nothing. Neil.
Clive Platt. I remember that.
Platty. Beautiful. 4 goals.
No wonder we got relegated. Listen to this.
I know, it's dreadful, isn't it? It really is.
Dom.
Gary McSheffrey.
That's a big
Oh,
point.
shit, he scored
It's a
loads.
Big point score, that is. That puts
I
you
said
on 10
loads,
in
wasn't
total. He
loads.
scored 8.
Oh.
So let's just recap on the scores at this point. Neil, you've got 5. Dom, you've got 10. Laurie, you've got nothing. Still, you've got a chance to
Good
redeem
quiz.
yourself, mate.
In fairness to me, I basically checked out supporting us at this point because I was at uni and I wasn't supporting us, especially because we were bottom of the league. So I don't even know who played for us. Michael McIndoe.
I think he'd
Was
gone
he
by
AWOL at that point?
I think
Busy
he was
in the pyramid scheme by that point.
He was rifling through the pension books of the.
So I know
No.
it sounds like a scam, but it's really not.
No Michael McIndoe. I'm going to wait until we've got 3 consecutive wrong answers, and then we'll put a pin in it. So Neil, see if you can give me one.
I think my memory might be failing me here, but I'm going to say Cody McDonald.
Oh, that's what I wanted to hear, wasn't it?
Am I correct?
Of course, you're correct.
I can't remember
Really, if
his-
he
his
had have had
era.
more games, he would have saved us from relegation. I think we all remember the second goal that he scored at Hull away when we thought we might actually stay up.
Good times.
And I think everybody knew at that point, if Cody was given a run in the team, we would have stayed up. But obviously, I wasn't given the chance. Dom, do you want to stretch your lead?
David Bell.
Bally was booked 3 times, didn't score. Lawrence, do you want to guess Darren Huckabee or someone else that you've heard of? Or
Biggie.
Oh, did he
That's
score?
not a bad shout, but I can't see the guy. Again, 2 bookings, no goals. So that's 2
Oh, so I thought we were doing
incorrect
bookings.
answers in a row. Neil, you're only 1 point behind Dom at this point. You could wrestle this back.
I think I might be able to, because I remember one quite important goal by Ollie Norwood.
Ollie Norwood bring you, actually 2 goals. Takes you in the lead.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching, right. Dom.
Richard Wood.
Oh, he's got 1.
Did he
1
score?
goal brings
Has
him
he?
level. Yeah, 1 goal,
fourth.
yeah. Laurie.
Please, can this not be some knockout format?
Let's cancel. Laurie, you're dead, right? You've lost all your
Yeah,
lives.
I've cancelled
Okay.
it.
Neil, you go again.
Carl.
It is Carl. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Dom.
Oh God, this is the point where I'm running out of players who I genuinely think.
Well, bearing in mind that
Yeah,
we've got
I can't remember.
bearing in mind that we got
So,
relegated
I'm
this
just gonna-
season. There's not many players left. so-
I'm just going to name someone for comedy value, really. Roy O'Donovan.
Roy O'Donovan got 1. He got a cup
You
goal.
bastard.
Right in there.
Even
Yeah,
Dom's
nice work.
jokes gets a point.
Go on then, Neil.
Oh, shit. I'm running out of players.
There's a 3-pointer left in the bag.
3-pointer from that year. Oh, I don't think I can remember that. Martin Craney, did he score?
We've got no Martin Craney goal. I don't remember Martin
Ah.
Craney ever scoring for us.
That's-
Dom, it's level on points.
Okay.
But now
I
sudden
am
death.
just going to say Cyrus Christie.
Last no. Right, Neil. If you get one correct here, in fact, next person to get one correct wins.
Connor Thomas played that year. I don't know if he scored.
Neil takes it.
Did he
13
score?
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he got 1. Yeah.
I don't remember
The
that at all.
3-pointer that you're missing, that everybody is shouting at their phones or radios, whatever you're listening to this, Gary Deegan.
Oh, goal machine Deegan, of course.
I think one of those goals was that one in a win against QPR that would have landed in space had it not taken the world's biggest deflection. Was attributed to him still. Anyone that we missed? Jordan Clark got 1. Gary Gardner.
Gary Gardner.
Gary Gardner. That was at Brighton. We took the lead at Brighton away. I was at that game. Right. Okay. Well, there we go. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up then?
Come on, football. Be good.
Are we going to do that should we do that every week? Or some weeks?
It could be good, but yeah, because we can try research, but you throw the random season at us. So
Because you could do it in.
and we invented the game. Yeah.
Well, so that's something to think about. Let us know, those of you out there, whether that actually is whether we've stumbled into a format that people would be interested in listening to further. Right, Dom. Final time. Remind us where we can find the season preview.
It's at sidewayssammy.com.
Beautiful. Lawrence, remind us of your poultry ramblings.
I know my research that's nonsense. Yeah, I'm actually going to start again this week, even though. Does anyone want to read a blog about a game that you haven't been to?
I do. If you're writing it, Laurie, as much as I hate you, obviously, I love reading your blog.
Cheers, mate. I thought I might squeeze out of you eventually. The lonelyseason.club.
Beautiful. Neil, I'd love to think that you were going to give us something.
Nah. I'm all right.
That's it, no. Okay, beautiful. Thanks, Neil.
Cheers.
Right, thanks everyone. So we'll be back next week, I assume, with Bristol City chat. And then have we got a full week before the next game, or are we in crazy midweek cycles again?
I think that's where the cup kicks in.
Oh, Jesus. Right, okay. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.